Right. Ready to go?
Ready.
We would like to see a gallery of everybody.
Why is my video? Okay,
Okay,
yes,
ready to go?
thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the technical delays. I would like to call this monthly meeting on March 20th, 2025 of the Board of Commissioners of the Needham Housing Authority and High Rock Homes LLC to order. We're meeting virtually with participants in person and online. Our fearless leader, Reg Foster, is on a much-deserved break, so I'll be chairing the meeting today. And with that, I'm going to call the roll. Jim Flanagan's here.
Ed Scheidler's here.
Penny Kirk here.
Janice Bennett is here.
Fantastic. So as required by the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law, this meeting is open to the public and is being conducted in compliance with its provisions pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations. Public bodies may continue to hold the meetings remotely without a quorum physically present as long as they provide adequate alternative public access. While this is set to expire March 31st, I believe that a bill is going to the governor very soon to extend it through June 2025.
Yay.
Yes. The Secretary of the Needham Housing Authority provided adequate notice of this meeting by preparing a public notice on March 14th, setting forth the date, time, and place, and filed with the clerk of the town of Needham. The agenda for the meeting was also posted at least 48 hours in advance, and with all reasonably anticipated topics by the chair to be discussed. Okay. So we start with announcements from the vice chair in this case, or chair of the meeting. And Cheryl, are we expecting anyone from Cambridge Housing Authority?
No,
HCP
they're not on our agenda and
Okay.
we're not expecting them.
Good, and I don't have any announcements. Next up, resident and community input. Would anyone like to? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Marlene Costa and I live in the Linden Chambers apartments. One concern I'd like to start with is the update about the driveway in Linden and Chambers. As you know, it is getting progressively worse, but it's been a public safety hazard for more than a year. Now we have huge potholes on left and right to the entrance and exit. And supposedly the HLC has, as far as I was told at this meeting, the last month or two, was that they had appropriated the funds to be transferred to Linden Chambers so that someone can fix the driveway. It would have to be the complete job of repaving it, including the walkways. It's dangerous and incredibly hazardous. I've been taking photographs of everything progressively as it deteriorates. There are enormous holes. No attempt has even been made to temporarily fill these holes with a little bit of hot top or patch, just so that it would be safe enough for people to drive in and out of Linden Chambers. And it primarily affects the residents. You know, because we're the ones that have to risk our cars and our safety. People have to maneuver away from these potholes and they have to swerve in one lane or another. So you can see how dangerous that is. So I'd like an update as to whether or not the monies have been transferred, but more importantly, is there a start date for, have they chosen a company? Have they signed a contract? And is there a start date? They said they were gonna do it in spring. Spring is here. When I moved in here 3 years ago, they already told me they had signed a contract with someone. And I mean, well, I can mention the person. She no longer works here, but she's an official, and they said they had already contracted with someone, and that was 3 years ago. So I want to have some specific information concerning that, when they're actually going to start, and if the money is hopefully will not be clawed back, in other words. And then we will no longer have it as an option, but something has to be done, because the authorities have to come in there, because it's incredibly dangerous and outrageous condition. All right, that's one issue. I mean, the general condition of the property, I just want to bring it up. There was an appropriation of $85,000 for new trucks for patients. There's another $70,000. It was appropriated for another snow truck or a truck that's used to remove snow. These are brand new vehicles, but totaling $155,000. Well, this winter, even though we haven't had a great deal of snow, we have had snow and ice. And there are walkways that need to be cleared in both Linden and Chambers. And the job was, I mean, especially with another brand new $70,000 truck, the walkways are not cleared. There were large piles of snow that were left in front of buildings 25 in Chambers and 39, 40, 42 and 25, 27. Just a huge pile of snow that was just left on the walkways. Also in Linden, there were several apartments that their walkways weren't even the general walkway, was not cleared. I'm not talking about individual apartments, I'm talking about the general walkway so you can get around the properties. And they certainly have more than enough equipment and nothing is done. As far as landscaping or leaf removal, we had a fire safety, all last summer, there was a fire safety issue. I'm sure you're all aware of it, you live in Massachusetts. And there was the alert for months. There were enormous piles of leaves that were never even removed from the property of Linden and Chambers. I've taken photographs of all of this and I'm documenting it. Now, the point is that it's one thing not to mow the lawn, which they only do it twice a year, and that's happened 2 years in a row. Prior to that, the first year I moved in, they were mowing the lawn on a regular basis. So that's gone. So that, even if you want to say that's a petty issue, not mowing the lawn, there are huge piles of branches, debris, leaves, and that continued through the whole fall of the previous year. And they're still there. And I don't think they're going to be removed at all. When they do have the trucks they have a truck that removed what do you call it, for Highland Homes or High Rock, they remove it. They have a truck that they blow all the leaves into and they take it away to the compost or wherever. But in Chambers and Linden for the past 2 years, they dump it there. They leave it there. And I had mentioned to the director of maintenance, if they are going to remove it or what's going to be done, because the grass was up to your middle of your calf. And they're like, we don't care, if there's a fire, there's going to be a fire anyway. This is his quote. And, that's it. If there's going to be a fire, it doesn't matter. All right, well, I want to know, with all this money that's being spent of $155,000 for trucks, if they can't do the job, can you hire someone or contract someone to remove these leaves and debris and keep the grounds in a livable, safe condition for the benefit of the tenants and the snow removal? If they're not able to do it for whatever reason, then take a part of that $155,000 and hire somebody that can do it. They have the equipment, they just, for whatever reason, are not doing it at all. As far as, I think we're going to touch on the tenants participation policy later on here, and since I only have the opportunity to speak now, there's only one concern I did have, the number of times we can meet with the executive director. And I just think that because we're undergoing the redevelopment, so it's a very sensitive time, I don't think meeting once every 3 months is really adequate under those circumstances. So I would suggest that at least being able to have a right to meet with the executive director once every 4 to 6 weeks, if possible, would be more appropriate considering we're under redevelopment. And the other issue, I think that we don't necessarily have to meet with the executive director. And my only concern with that is I hope that we'll be meeting with someone that is well-versed and that has been at the housing authority and knows what the circumstances and issues are, if for whatever reason we were not able to meet with the executive director. So that was a concern. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Please. Okay. Janice, I'm sorry. You meet once a month with the local tenant organizations, okay?
When they reach out to me for a meeting, I do meet with them. And that can be, and I've said this to them many times, it can be as frequently as they would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marlene?
I agree.
Oh.
Cheryl has been excellent. Well, I'm just saying, Cheryl has been excellent in meeting with us.
Well, I don't
My
understand
concern is on the tenants participation policy. I read through it and I think you're gonna vote on it tonight to pass it. And in the actual language of the policy, it says you only have to meet once every 90 days, which is once every 3 months. And that's just the official policy.
All right,
So the point is, if
that-
Cheryl
that-
leaves,
well,
if
that
Cheryl
would be the minimum.
leaves.
So that would be the minimum, not the maximum, so.
Point of order, please.
Oh, we're into redevelopment, so I don't think meeting once every 3 months is good.
Well, you have a local tenant organization. don't
Yes,
you?
we do, but the point is, we don't have the power to to do anything.
No, well, you just heard that if the local tenant organization requests a meeting with the executive director, then she responds, so.
Okay, well then why do we have a tenants participation policy? Because I read it and that's what's in it.
I hear a minimum, not a,
Oh,
that doesn't preclude additional. which
oh, really?
Carol's-
Oh, then perhaps, because it seemed to me it said once every 3 months.
Point of order.
Let me read it then.
Janice? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marlene, I
Yes.
just want to say you're exactly right on every single issue. I go there and I go to all the properties
Oh,
and the it's a mess.
thank you.
But but I also want to say this, Captain Robert Cook Drive was a mess for 10 years. You have to, it takes time, hon. I'm sorry to put it to you that way, but I'm sure it's gonna be completed, but it's wrong, but it does take time, and I agree with every issue, and I feel bad, but money is tight and things are gonna take a little longer than people expect, and I'm sorry for that.
Thanks. Thanks.
Well,
Thank you.
Okay, additional meetings, it seems that should be an easy way to approach that would be to go through the local tenant organization.
Well, we are the local
Yeah.
tenant organization, and
do
we
you-
brought up these issues, and I brought up this issue about the driveway the last two. Not only me, other people brought it up, a question about it, the last 2 meetings here.
Yeah.
And the
I think-
the last thing they said was the EOHLC has agreed to release the money to do the driveways at Linden Chambers. So I wanna know where's the date? There was gonna be in the spring, so is there a date set?
Well, and I think,
Contract signed, that's what I want to answer to.
yeah, I think that'll.
It's not just me, it's for the benefit of the tenants, everybody wants to know, okay?
It sounds like a pretty big topic.
Well, I mean, if someone here, if it's the executive director or anyone else, they must know what
I
the
think
status is right now.
I think
this
the
month.
intent is that's handled at the association meetings, that you can ask Cheryl for a meeting.
All right, so if Cheryl, if the executive director doesn't want to answer it tonight, she doesn't have to.
Well, no,
Well,
she
I really-
certainly
I-
can, but it doesn't seem like a simple answer.
I'm very, I'm very impressed, if you will, for lack of a better word, with your passion for your community, and I thank you for that. Some of your facts are a little misstated, but I'm not here to discuss and debate that. That's really not what we're here for. And the parking project with EOHLC is a project that's handled by them from A to Z. So they actually put the project out for bid, they develop a budget, they do everything. And so that planning stage is happening now. Unfortunately, we have to wait on their schedule. So money has been appropriated in a capital plan, a 5-year capital plan. So it has been identified in a 5-year capital plan. When the project will actually start is another issue. And that's again on EOHLC's timeline, and we have to work with them on that. They are the funders of the money. Greg and I are talking about, immediate solutions until the plan, is finalized. So right now, it's in the planning stages. Architects and engineers are evaluating the project. The project will go out to bid. And then a contractor will be chosen. The board will know about that at a board meeting when that contractor is chosen. And then the project will begin. We'll have a schedule, but right now we don't have any of that because it's just in the planning stages with EOHLC. Money has been appropriated in the capital plan, but the job hasn't begun yet because that's in the planning stages with the state.
So it could take up to 5 years.
It could take up to 2 years or another year. It's not
is
in
ridiculous.
this 2025 schedule. And I just found that out actually a few days ago. So and we can talk about
Yeah.
that at my
Thank you. That was
my
very
time.
helpful information.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's an exception.
Because it was stated that they were gonna start spring or summer of this year.
We had hoped, yeah. I'm sorry.
So it's now, but just to the status.
Well, that's the
it's a-
process,
I know,
how it
just-
works. Yeah.
So it could be up to 2 years before they begin.
The process with the state, they have their timeline
Sure.
that they plan these projects with.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, it's not gonna last 2 more
Please.
years if you've seen it. Go right
In the
ahead.
interim, can't we just fill these potholes with gravel?
Exactly right. So Greg and I are certainly working with buying the product. The thing with the product that it's called cold patch or something. When we purchase that, when it snows, it just comes right up. We just plow it right up and away. So now the snow is gone and we will do that. The other issue too that we're dealing with at the Housing Authority is we're just down. We're down a full-time maintenance person, and one of our other maintenance persons has some family emergencies that he's been dealing with as well. So it's really a staffing issue in terms of getting everything done on top of emergencies that happen on a daily basis. And then we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about our budget so that,
Right.
you know,
And I want to be sensitive to time for.
I know,
additional
sorry, I'm
community
sorry,
input.
Jen.
Okay,
Yeah, I just want to
Thanks.
say one sentence. As far as the conditions I discussed with the property and the snow removal and the everything that happened the last 2 years with the leaves and everything else, they had the staff. That man who left.
okay, now
All right, I'm
we're
just
15
gonna say-
minutes into your.
Yeah, and we don't want to
Well,
discuss
it's
and
a
debate
fact.
that. I can certainly meet with you guys and Marlena,
Thank
with you even as an individual, just to talk with you about it more and give you a more drill down on the process.
Thank you.
Jim, just let me see if there's someone online and
There's
come
a
back.
few people online. So we've got,
Top on.
start with Ross Donald.
And we'll come back and forth. That's right.
Ross, are you there? Nope. Let's see how this allowed to talk.
You hitting out allowed to talk the blue part.
Yeah.
Can they hear?
There you go.
Can you hear us, Ross? You can unmute. Let me see if I need to do that. Ask to unmute.
Good evening. I'm Kalpana Shah
Yeah.
at 168 Linden Street.
Yep.
I have just one deepest request. I know very well that rent policy has been reviewed few months ago, but whatever is happening at Washington, I'm requesting to think through a little bit about the leniency or how housing can help the tenants who are totally have only Social Security and Medicare or Medicaid. And there is a drastic cut is coming, as well as the verification policy is also changing. So it is harder for the elderly people to go online or the telephone, because so many offices are closed, as well as there is a whole education department is going to be closed. So many offices will be closed. So I'm requesting, my deepest request to think through about the tenants' leniency for the rent policy.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Who's, Jim, do you want to go ahead next?
I was just looking for an
No.
update on the financial grants that has been applied for on February 27th.
It's on the agenda.
Okay,
Good,
good.
we'll cover it. Thank
All
you.
right, good, thank you.
Good.
Go back to Russ.
Yep.
Okay, hello? Is
Yep.
the audio on?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, super. Yeah, just to comment on the potholes. I really think there's an opportunity here. We have been talking about tenant participation, and the question I had for a couple of meetings was, is it possible to make the connection between the policy discussion and the potholes? You know, participation with no results is like sort of, I don't know, it's necessary, I suppose, just to review things. But if we had a purpose for the participation, and if it could result in dealing with the potholes, now the first thing is to have a bunch of people get together. I have spoken with Greg about it, and I observed that the town is fixing potholes now. You know, I have the list of the pavement contractors that I guess, you know, if you work on the street in the town, they have to review who you are and whether you're qualified and so forth. So I have a list of contractors that are approved for working on potholes in the streets and the roads and everything around town. So I think it would be very helpful, and I need to connect with Greg about this, is find out where they're fixing the potholes, get out there and see who's doing it and how they're doing it, you know? And because the town has fixed potholes right outside Chambers Street. When the drain or the grate sort of through the flooding and everything, it washed away. Well, they had to fill it all in and fix you know, redo the pavement. And they also did it right uh, next to the Chambers Street driveway. And they fixed that very well. Also, the housing authority has had somebody do some work on the finishing of the concrete ramps with new railings and everything. It's excellent work. Those people might be available to help, and if it wasn't the staff, I don't know, might be available to help fix the potholes. They have made a brief attempt. The maintenance guys, and I can't recall who it was. I was just looking at it from the porch when they did it. It was about a year ago or something. They came with a flatbed truck with several bags of blacktop. It was a cold patch kind of thing. I think it was in the fall, but going into the winter.
Ross,
But
you'll be sensitive to time.
yeah, okay. So that can be done a little bit more carefully and with a finished look. But also getting people involved with this thing. By the way, I just need to recall that in the letter that was sent to the Linden Chambers Residents Association, it reiterates that the purpose of the resident association is to represent residents in matters that affect their rights, status, and duties. I think that might include potholes somehow. So keep me in tune. I am president of the association. I'm the contact person. I'm charged with speaking for the residents. And I did send a letter out about some incidents. Didn't really get any response. You know, we'd like to be able to communicate. If people are calling me about stuff that is important to them, and I'm writing a letter asking for a meeting with a number of people and don't get any response, it's I don't know what to do at that point, you know, so
Thank you, Ross. Thank you.
yeah.
Great. And anyone else online? Sue?
Yep,
Yeah.
actually, this is just strictly a Zoom question.
Yep.
Why can't we have everybody who's attending, you don't have to show their faces, but to have that in the gallery, you know, maybe the names or something. And also, why can't we get the chat enabled? In case somebody has a different question, may not have time for it. But I'd like to see that. I mean, they have it on every other webinar I've ever been to.
Got it. Thanks, Sue. I'll take that under advisement. In public meetings, I've seldom seen a chat open. But we'll take that.
No.
Well, we can,
Yeah, could I?
let's think outside the box for a change.
There's
Yeah.
the legal elements too, and matters we have to consider. It's not-
Okay,
Well,
Good.
this
Thank you.
Next
Unmute.
person.
Yeah, that's come up before. I brought it up several times. I like knowing
Ross,
who is
Ross,
in the,
Ross,
yeah.
Ross,
Yeah.
we've taken it under advisement, and it's we will unpack it and see what we can do to better facilitate meetings. Okay, thanks. All right. Anything else? All right then. Cool. Let's get into the agenda. Start with regular agenda item A, which is A1, the NHA bill schedule check warrant for $637,853.82. Make a motion that we approve the check warrant.
I second it.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing no questions, I'll call the roll. Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett, aye.
Great. So that's moved. Next up, A2, HRH LLC bill schedule check warrant for $44,757.73. I make a motion that we approve the check warrant,
Second,
seconded by Janice. Any questions? Now I'll call the roll. Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett, aye.
Great, it's passed. Next up, agenda item B, the consent agenda. Are there any items that commissioners want removed for discussion before approval of the consent agenda? Hearing none, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second,
Penny got it. We got it. Any questions? Nope, there are no questions because we would have removed it. Sorry. I'll call the roll. Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett, aye.
Thank you. Next up, the executive director's report. Carol, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I sent out a copy of the approved state budget via email, and I have hard copies if you need a hard copy of that. The budget has been cut significantly in the maintenance line item. So that I did want to point that out. Let me find my notes. Ah. In the maintenance line item. Sorry, guys. Just want to give you the exact language. I have it here somewhere.
Come back to that.
Okay.
If you want to hit the other points and then I'll do my update and you can then bring us back to that. That's all right.
Alrighty, sorry about that. I do have it here. It's right in front of my face. So just so you know, we're hearing all this passion about our properties, which is really tough to maintain when your budget's being cut by the state. So we budgeted $55,000 for maintenance materials, and the revised amount that EOHLC has approved is 24,000. So that's a significant cut.
Wow,
Contract costs submitted was 95,000, and the revised budget is 64,700. So we have to work within that that guidance somehow, and we will do that. We will be creative, and we will do our best to when units turn over to, turn them over in a conservative way.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all I had to say about the budget and the cuts to the budget. The other item that is on my ED report is the executive director search. We had interviews yesterday with an interviewing committee consisting of 5 people. One is Brittany Jarrett. I cannot pronounce her last name, so I won't butcher it. But she is the director of leasing for Watertown Housing Authority. Janice Bennett, Elena Choi, who is our FSS coordinator, James Burke, and myself. So we had 5 people on the interviewing committee. We had 5 very strong candidates that we interviewed for an hour each. We had a choice. We had one candidate that was our first choice, but he withdrew his application. He indicated that he views the position as a lateral position. So 95,000 for the position is not enough to draw him in. He said the timing isn't right for him and to make the transition. I expressed my understanding of his decision, and I mentioned that we remain very interested in him, in having him join our team, and if he might consider under revised terms. So I haven't heard back from him, but I sent a detailed email to him about that possibility.
Yeah.
And then the second candidate is requesting some remote work with her position. And so that's something that we have to consider, because the job is an in-person only job, but we'll consider that. And the third person, he would be available immediately. So there's still some deliberations about how to proceed with what I have in front of me. And I will keep you updated, but I was very excited about the group of people that came to be interviewed. And the first candidate was a very strong candidate, and we liked him a lot. Jim was there at the meeting. So it was, Janice was there, of course, and it was a good interview. It was a good process.
Got it. Thank
he
you.
was a very strong candidate, Cheryl.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we'll be able to work something out to recruit him.
We've got multiple strong candidates we are considering. Thank you.
Question, Cheryl, did he call you or did you call?
Let me ask that since this is since we're interviewing people and, it's usually not something we discuss publicly for their good and for ours. Right, so, let's, we got an update on it, and I think that's sufficient. So moving on, anything
Yeah.
else?
So then the next item in my report is the tenant participation policy. Again, just for review, it's not up for a vote yet. I've been meeting with the LCRA on the policy. I want to meet with our RAB board
Yeah.
on the policy as well and get comments, as much comments as we can solicit on the policy. It's a great policy. The policy helps the agency support residents who want to be involved in the community in a meaningful way. It's required by EOHLC, and it's also required by HUD. So we're still working on that. I will schedule a meeting with our RAB board, to get their opinion about the policy as well. So that's
Thank you.
still ongoing.
Work.
Great.
And then the other thing, I think I had additional reporting. So one of the other items that I wanted to bring to the board's attention was the capital improvement, the CIP approval for Needham Housing Authority for 2025. It's the formula funding that we received from the state to do our capital work. And that money typically is over $100,000. So the state runs that program and plans out the program, budgets the program, hires the architects and engineers, puts the project out to bid. We invoice, that's what we do, and we approve the contractor along with EOHLC. And the projects that are out for that will be addressed this capital season really are projects associated with 689 Great Plain Avenue, our 689 project. It's the developmentally disabled unit on 1415 Great Plain Avenue. And so some of the things that we're doing at that project is we are going to redo the basement kitchens there. We did the upfloor kitchens last year, and now we're going to proceed with the basement kitchens. There's a roof replacement scheduled. There's an ADA ramp and walkway approved. And then there is upgrade to the back patio area. So I'm really happy that this is happening because that property tends to be a little neglected. And so we want to make sure that that building gets the upgrades that it desperately needs. And then just from a staffing point of view, we had an all-staff meeting on last week on the 11th, and it was a meeting with the town, and we got a great presentation on retirement and how retirement benefits affect us and how it works and what additional benefits that we could sign up for. We try to do an all-staff meeting once a year, in terms of educating our staff on things that are available to them. Last year, we did mental health workshop with the town, with the department, the youth department, youth and family services department. And prior to that, we did a CPR training. So that was very good. We try to do that every year. We have an all-staff meeting scheduled on Tuesday rather. And it's just me updating the staff on a lot of the changes that are happening with the agency, with CBEDS First and CPC funding, et cetera. So that's all I got for you.
Thank you. All right, next up is the Preservation and Redevelopment PRI Initiative
I
update.
have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was waiting for additional reporting.
That's it. That's the additional reporting. That's the staffing
So I have a-
update.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know if this is where I should
Sure.
bring it in, but it had to do with the two events that took place.
Yeah.
One was, I'd like to make an addendum to the report about the Polanski concert, because I have learned that the audience was out of control,
Oh,
throwing basketballs around, running around, yelling. No one took charge of these kids. There was apparently food provided, which all the parents got chatting and talking. As it turned out, there were a few parents who remembered this man from their childhood. And they took their children, they were delighted to see him, and they even had some music that he had given them many years ago. So he got about 20 people when there were about 60 there. The rest were out of control, apparently. So I don't know who was in charge, but someone should have brought that audience together. It was
Yeah.
unfortunate.
No one from the Housing Authority attended that event. We
I
left it
did write a
to,
note to the principal.
okay.
And I haven't heard anything back. And the other thing, I don't know who would have been involved with advertising for the Boston Rovers, but it is required when you get a grant that the general public is told about it. I don't think there was anything in the Hometown Weekly,
It wasn't.
and in the past, I've put flyers around and I go to the senior center, etc. But I don't know if any of that took place anyway. I'm
We
told that
didn't
only-
get the grant last year from Mass Cultural Council, so I was not sort of inclined to go above and beyond to advertise the event, which was nice. It was a great event, but we didn't get the grant, so we're not reporting to them for 2024.
Well, I understand there were only 23 people there, and we had been working up to getting 40 and 50 people, but it requires some advertising. And as far as I know, the previous grants we've gotten covered the cost of that.
No.
Well, I have never gotten a full report on that, so I'd like
Okay.
to get that at some point.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Then moving on, PRI update. Let me start with Linden Street redevelopment project. I think it was reported at the meeting earlier this month, but it's important enough that I'll restate. So the winter 2025 funding round one-stop application for phase 1A development was submitted to the EOHLC on Thursday, February 27th. Thanks to everyone who contributed to that massive effort. That's for approximately 53 million for phase 1A development of these 76 one-bedroom units. I won't go too much into the detail of the project. I think we've heard enough on that. Now we wait, right? It's uncertain when. I've heard as soon as maybe late May, maybe into June. These things just aren't that certain, but we wait, keep our fingers crossed and all other toes and everything else. So that's that. And moving on. With the Seabeds Cook PRI redevelopment or modernization and update. After some bad news that we had all heard about the inability to address both Seabeds and Cook at the same time, we got some very good news last night. And that is that the Needham Community Preservation Committee approved that an article be added to the town meeting warrant for funding of 3.2 million. From the Community Preservation Act Fund for construction costs and select pre-development costs associated with the preservation of the 46 affordable public housing units at Seabeds Way.
Great.
It is great. It's a tough decision. The CPC that manages the CPA had 5 or 6 really worthy projects in front of them, and they had to dice and slice, and they put in extra effort to really figure out a way to get them all funded, including ours. So we are deeply appreciative. Now it ultimately has to go before the town meeting in the May spring meeting, but if that gets approved, we'll have that funding to contribute to the project. We were seeking some more, but again, it's, CPA went above and beyond and was very creative, including reaching out to funding next year, right? So there is a concern about longer term availability, but as we know, it's important to spend the money now to get the matches we need, especially with some of the concerns we see on the federal level. So that is that. I think I won't go into too much more detail, but pleased to share that great news. And again, we are so grateful for the diligent work of the CPC members, town staff, and our CHA partners for the development, review, and ultimate approval of this critical local funding again. Needham steps up. Unfortunately, the approximately $150,000 for the High Rocket State Affordable Land Trust use study was not approved, but we are certainly not complaining. And we would look to find other funding for that important work.
Does that mean that the project at Seabeds and Cook will be able to go forward now, find a funding point?
That's
3.2.
That's right. And seabeds only.
Okay, because I thought it was, they had to choose between Seabeds and Captain Cook.
So Cook is being deferred.
Oh, that's official, that's being
That's
deferred?
being, yes, we,
Oh, so this, the Seabeds wasn't even gonna go forward unless they raised the 3.2 million?
correct.
Oh, I didn't
And it
know.
was tied into Linden, so it is.
Oh, that's right.
It's all tied in, so this is
Yeah.
good news. It's not the great ultimate news. And we are. Oh, it's so disappointing.
So in other
Cook's
words, if
residents.
they don't get the 53 million for Linden, the Seabeds project will be able to go forward because they appropriated 3.2 million.
And it's the timing too, to keep in mind with the Linden project, right? It can happen as soon as May. If it doesn't happen in May, because it's a very competitive project, right?
Yeah,
Then, it's not that it never will get funded, right? There's another opportunity perhaps over the summer and.
when do they expect to start Seabeds? They're gonna start that earlier then, regardless? Since it's no longer tied to the Linden project.
I don't have the exact schedule for that, but I think, they can start some preliminary work if all things fall into, there's always if, right? Everything falls
Sure,
into place and stuff. Do you have a sense of?
When it will start,
Yeah,
when the funding is finalized.
yeah.
Yeah.
The work, yes, good answer, thank you.
It doesn't depend on Linden. The Linden
not.
project, oh, because of this
But
appropriation.
the Linden project, yeah, so,
Because of this 3.2 million that's going to Seabeds, so it's no longer linked. I just want to make sure.
well, it's linked,
Oh,
but
it's still linked.
It's linked so that we can use the Faircloth units that would be available to us, and that will help subsidize the units at Linden Street, the Linden Street
So can you
development.
define Faircloth?
Oh, no, I can't do that. Faircloth,
It's just a name.
it's a name, it's named after a gentleman that has been involved in housing in the past. But it also ensures affordability for units. So these units will become site-based Section 8. But we're also going to, it opens up that window of opportunity to subsidize the Section 8 units at Linden. Those will be site-based Section 8 units as well. So Seabeds really is moving forward with Seabeds is
It's
Linden
the catalyst going
contingent
forward.
upon moving forward with the
Yes.
Seabeds way repositioning. Yeah.
Linden's dependent on Seabeds.
Those
right,
additional
but not
units, there are
vice versa.
41 of those Faircloth units
Yeah.
that we're dependent upon to use at the Linden Street.
Linden is dependent on Seabeds, but Seabeds is not dependent on Linden.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
And where are these 41 units? They're at Seabeds that you're talking about.
Well, it's the Faircloth of which I can't go into tonight.
And it's not like a physical.
Right,
release
it's the
of the
subsidy
funding.
that's
Yeah.
tied
Section 8.
to the project, yeah.
I see.
They're invisible units that will come.
Oh,
So it's a funding designation, so we can unpack that in greater detail later. Again, it's
Yeah.
complicated, it would be financial layer cake. All right, So, next on the agenda, it looks like was the status update on maternal initiatives.
Okay, Cooks After School. So, no, after school program, at Cooks this month. The two families that were attending has moved across town. And so they're participating in the after school program that happens on Thursdays at Linden Chambers Community Room. And that's going well. So that's the young woman, the one child that's left. We had 3 steady participants. The one child that's left is attending a Lego workshop that she's received a significant scholarship from the adult ed program to attend the workshop. So we're still planning for that space and planning to expand opportunities for our children to get their homework done, to read and to have some after-school enrichment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we connect with, public schools and NEDP, to
Mhm.
make sure that we're looking at the whole umbrella.
Yeah.
We had talked about, to make sure that,
That's right.
we are aware of all opportunities, whether it's staying after school, possibly with a
Here,
scholarship,
yeah.
or something here.
Yeah.
So that we're always looking at all the opportunities.
And one of the things that I like to do with that space is create a computer center. Elena Choi and Liz Fay, whom I meant to mention earlier, is no longer with us. She has taken a position with the state. Is to set up a learning center for adults. So it would just involve setting up 3 or 4 computer stations in that room and having that space used for adults that are engaged in a lot of the programs and resources that Elena and Liz has procured for them.
Okay.
So that's a process. And then we still, it's such a great space, that homework center is such a great space for children. We just have to figure out another way of how to market that and really bring in the kids to that activity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
More to come.
All right. And then closing with new business. It's my pleasure to recognize Ed Scheidler in his last meeting. His sentence has been reprieved after 5 years, but no, thank you so much. And I'll start if that's all right, but I want to open the floor for others. Ed has been a tireless advocate for affordable housing and services to meet the needs of NHA residents. As our treasurer, he also kept an eye on spending. On a personal note, Ed, along with Penny, were among the first to greet me when I joined the board. And they always invited me to social events, which I appreciated. You're not clicking up the last one. But I saw a lot of great music. It was just great to engage. Ed, you've always been available for sage advice. Your wisdom, professionalism, and good humor will be missed, along with your radio announcement worthy voice. Which I had while you step back from the NHA board, we look forward to seeing you in the community as you continue to advocate for fair and affordable housing. So thank you very much.
Can I add?
You for this very cute card, and I guess it gives me permission to put my feet up on the beach. And all these wonderful people have signed it for me. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. The least we could do. Janice, did you want to share something?
Yes, Ed, it's been my very great pleasure to work with you. Your experience, your expertise, your knowledge, and the great way that you approach situations has taken me to a new level of respect for you. And your wife Penny is always right there beside you.
Janice, we have to get Ed's head out the door, so. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you for your service, Ed.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Penny, do you want?
I think I want to say thank you for saving me. Ed came on the board because I was getting an awful lot of feedback. Before Cheryl came on board, and I needed his counsel and his backup and his support, and he offered to join the board, and I said, yes.
Well,
Please do.
Sage counsel, thank you.
We even went to, the Attorney General to find out whether there'd be a conflict of interest that a husband and wife would be on the same board.
Wait, you guys are husband and wife?
I had
I'd
to,
like to keep it a secret. That's why we
Catch out the bag.
I had to agree with them that, if any fiduciary, issues came up that would affect both of us, that I would have to refuse to accept any responsibility.
Yeah.
So that all worked out. So then they put their blessing on the fact that we could, since it was a no fee arrangement, that we could both serve on the same board. So that
That's
worked
great.
out.
And it may have been a test to the marriage. I don't know, but we made it through.
I'm glad that survived. Good. Good, sure.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say, you know, Ed, you're just a staunch advocate for affordable housing, and I admire that tremendously. And more than that, you have such a passion and caring spirit for our residents. And, you know, that is just commendable. I love that you care so much and you want to make sure that they're treated fairly and that they have what they deserve and what they need. And I thank you for coming into the office many times with donuts and muffins for our staff. And, you know, just being your very friendly self. I know that you're not going away anywhere. I know we're going to see you
I'll be
on
survived.
committees in town, so I know we're going to continue to work together. I know this is not goodbye. But thank you.
We've shared. You and Ed, what do you have to say?
It has been a very educational. I've learned an awful lot. And I had no idea how complicated it might be, but did a whole lot of reading and all of the guidance that was issued primarily from the state. And how we were to conduct ourselves and what we could and couldn't do and et cetera. So that was a great education, enlightening. And it was just a positive experience. So I'm just getting so damn old that I'm not gonna re-up.
Well, you have us all on speed dial.
Yes.
You can call us now freely without any quorum concerns, which is great, and we look forward to that. And you can be sure I'll be calling you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Thanks. With that, I also want to mention with EDC, you know, now coming open, the NHA commissioner seat has 2 candidates who are running to fill it. And the town election is on April 8th, with options to vote early or by mail for those who requested that option. So I encourage folks to check the town clerk website, because I'm not going to try to repeat all the different options that are available to vote.
What are their names?
Jeffrey Engler and Barbara McDonald.
How do you spell Jeffrey, what?
Engler, Engler.
Oh, nice.
I'm glad you don't have one already.
Great, so please consult the town clerk website, and I'm sure you'll all do diligent research. I feel it very important.
He's a great entrepreneur.
Yeah. I shouldn't be shocked as I see them, since I clearly shopped for them. All right, and I think that does it. Anything else, Cheryl, from your standpoint?
No, the only thing that's on here is the June 19th
19th, yep.
meeting, which is on a Thursday, and it's also a holiday. So
Yes.
we don't have to decide now. We can decide next month or at the
Okay.
May annual meeting to reschedule that meeting,
Yeah,
perhaps
let-
earlier in the week.
What I would recommend, if it's all right, it's up
Yes,
to you,
sir.
is to send some options out through email to kind of get a sense of what people have available. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Right, and then we can narrow
Mhm.
that down.
Okay,
But especially
What
with
holiday is it?
June 19th,
June.
yeah.
May.
It's Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
With that, I think I can bring the meeting to a close.
Well, before you do that. I can
Here's-
assure you that you'll get good use.
I was about the stuff that goes in it, but.
Thank you very much.
Right, with that,
I move to adjourn.
second that. Jim Flanagan votes aye.
And Shiloh votes aye.
Danny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay. Good
All
night,
right,
all.
we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Very good.
Okay, everybody.
Good evening.
You could have voted aye.
Next classes.